Two events happened in the 1930s which changed Soviet animation forever, both with direct involvement by Joseph Stalin. First, Viktor Smirnov, a representative of the Soviet film industry in the United States, returned home after thoroughly researching the animation techniques of Walt Disney and the Fleischer Brothers, and brought with him advanced cartoon-making equipment. Second, the scattered Moscow animation studios were united into one, titled Soyuz Det Multfilm. A year later, it was renamed to Soyuz Multfilm, or SMF for short. These two events were a very big deal for Soviet animation, since SMF would not only become the largest animation studio in the USSR, but in all of Europe. The studio's history has a close connection with several religious buildings, starting with this nice 17th century temple. As was the custom back then, it was demolished to make way for this tasteless pile of boxes, a building meant for the Society of Former Political Prisoners. But the society never moved in because most of its members were arrested. On the bright side, now there was an empty building for Soyuz Multfilm. The Soviet animators were required to adapt to the American way of making animation. Thanks to innovations such as a new division of labor, conveyor belt approach, and the switch to celluloid sheets or cells, the USSR was now releasing way more cartoons than before. And with the new methods came the distinctive style of that era. You know the one, usually full of bouncy, anthropomorphic animals and aimed exclusively at children. There are many examples of this style. It's Hot in Africa was one of the first. A cute story of a monkey and a walrus joining forces to create an ice cream monopoly in the jungle. The Bromberg sisters made several similar films, like Hare the Tailor, about a business owner dealing with pissed-off customers and resolving the issue with a tactical bee and only a minimal amount of blackface. The Little Red Riding Hood needs no introduction. It's a famous happy children's tale featuring a wolf who wears the skin of another animal before being sealed in a barrel and drowned in a lake. Ivashko and Baba Yaga is an attempt to join a traditional Russian fairy tale with the foreign animation visuals. Baba Yaga, a recurring character in Russian stories, terrified many generations of kids. She kidnaps and eats children, and in this version she is cybernetically enhanced with a voice modulator and a metal jaw. The Puss in Boots is basically a musical, with every character singing a tune as the title character kills the lord of a castle for his inept owner. Just So Stories, a collection of short tales about animals by Rudyard Kipling, turned out to be a popular source for cartoon material. The Baby Elephant is based on the story How the Elephant Got His Trunk. The answer, in case you're not aware, is that a crocodile bit the curious animal and stretched his nose. The main character of The Courageous Sailor is a pipe-smoking adventurer with deformed forearms. Now, does that remind you of anyone? This cartoon is based on How the Whale Got His Throat. Comrade Popayski is swallowed by the whale, performs a breakdance routine, and installs bars in the whale's throat so that it doesn't happen again. The character even had a sequel in How the Rhino Got His Skin, where we learn more about the sailor. He lives alone on an island and makes pastries for animals. This lack of healthy social contact is what probably leads the sailor to put glue on rhino skin, you know, while it's laying unattended on the beach. Ivan Ivanov was one of the most famous Soviet animators. But you see, there was another animator called Alexander Ivanov, no relation, so Ivan changed his very common last name to Ivanov-Vano to avoid confusion. His cartoon Kotofei Kotofeyevich is another traditional fairy tale in which the title character, a cat, prevents the kidnapping of his rooster neighbor. By the way, if you see a fox in a Russian fairy tale, you can start making bets on how the fox will die. In this film, the fox falls into an industrial machine and only fur comes out. So if you guessed that correctly, congratulations, what's wrong with you? For The Three Musketeers, Vanneau introduced a recurring character of sorts, a Disney-inspired duckling who reads too many books and then dreams about them. The cartoon is a loose adaptation of the famous swashbuckler story. The duckling returns in The Little Liar, this time imagining himself in the role of Baron Munchausen and going on crazy adventures, just before his grandmother imparts some wisdom on him. The traditional tale of Kolobok is a weird one. I mean, he's a talking ball of bread. There's no way to make him look normal. In the original story, Kolobok is eaten by the fox, but in this retelling, he's rescued by the old couple who created him, presumably to be eaten. There are many more similar animated tales, but because of bad video quality, I don't really want to talk about them. Examples would be Fox the Builder, We Don't Bite Here, and other cartoons. The Uninvited Guest is an example of a musical cartoon, of which there were also quite a few. Here, a fable about a fox and a crow is rendered as a guitar song. The Noisy Trip features a frog musician hitching a ride on a ship with a captain who sounds like he is on drugs. The hardest part of a musical cartoon is matching animation to the music, which is done quite well here, especially during the shipwreck sequence. A similar sort of synchronization is apparent in The Magic Flute by Alexander Ivanov, a story of some nerdy animals in a music school fighting each other over an instrument. And Ivanov's The Public's Darling was probably meant as a satire, but it doesn't really work. The cartoon makes fun of undesirable foreign music while it's drawn in a Disney animation style. Remember how Olga Khodotaeva was one of the animators who made The Samoyed Boy, a cartoon with the realistic indigenous people of the North? Well, her film The Returned Son is also a tale about a young hunter from the Arctic, but made in a completely different style. Khodotaeva also had the honor of welcoming New Year's Day, a holiday recently made official after Christmas was banned in 1929. Grandpa Frost and the Grey Wolf is the first cartoon featuring the kind bearded man, also known as Ded Moroz, who would become New Year's mascot in Russia until present day. Khodotaeva's Hop on My Thumb, also known as The Little Thumbling, has all the good bits of the 17th century tale it is based on: creepy tiny children, talking mushrooms, and cannibal ogres. The animation is actually pretty good. The cartoons by Panteleimon Sazonov, while pretty fun, serve as warnings against dangers. Cat's House is a story about a house in which cats live, of course. The kittens are left unattended with a useless relative, so they play with matches and burn the house down, barely escaping peril. Why did the chicken cross the road? According to Sazonov, it didn't. In this one, stupid animals demonstrate what not to do in traffic. Now, I know what many of you are thinking. How come everything is in black and white? Didn't they make any color cartoons? Well, they did, but not many of those survived. At the time, the standard way to make color pictures was called the three-strip process. A special camera recorded on 3 rolls of black and white film simultaneously, with each roll responsible for shades of either red, blue, or green. Then the 3 rolls would be combined to get a color image. There is a researcher in Russia, Nikolai Mayorov, who spent many years locating and restoring old color films, and the results are amazing. He can turn this into this. The quality is great, but there's one little problem. Most of these restored versions are not available anywhere. They are shown at film festivals and then disappear forever. The Sweet Pie is the very first color film made at SMF and is fortunately easy to find. This big yellow bird runs a bakery and entrusts the important job of making a special holiday pie to his inept students. It doesn't go as planned since one of the students tries to bake the other one. The animation is a little jerky, but I have to say, after watching countless black and white cartoons, it is such a relief to finally see something in color, and I hope that people back then felt the same way. Mucha Tsokotucha, or Tsokotucha the Fly, is probably the pinnacle of Disney-influenced animation in the USSR. It's an adaptation of another children's poem. A happy fly wants to hold a birthday tea party, but a spider shows up to scare everyone and kidnaps the birthday girl. It's up to a brave mosquito to rescue Tsokotucha and also marry her. The film is in black and white, but the animation here is excellent. Even simple movements are very fluid, and the character design is on par with foreign studios. It is a shame that the film's release had to be delayed until after the war. The story of Disney's influence on Soviet animation does not end here. In the meanwhile, a different Soviet animation studio was busy creating impressive works in the stop-motion genre, but that is a topic for another episode. For viewing recommendations, The Sweet Pie and Mucha Tsokotucha are both good examples of foreign-influenced animation in the USSR. Join us next time as we explore the strange and scary world of early Soviet stop-motion animation.